I'm doing a slight rehaul of my YouTube channel, just a little bit of an addition. I've got playlists now related to things to do with the game. So there's a world building playlist, story and character design, sound, game design and mechanics, thoughts and opinions, a goofs playlist, and I'm gonna just like put every video, every stream into one of these playlists so that we've got categories, and it keeps things nice and organised then, and it's much more of a pleasure to look through all the streams of the past when you know what the stream's going to be about, because I've started to change the titles of them as well, to a title that's related to a key thing that was talked about on stream, the main thing that was discussed. I mean, we generally talk about lots of things during the 3 hours that I stream, but there's usually one main thing, so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. I think it'll be better. It'll be way better. Happy Monday. And playlists are fantastic as always. Yeah, I mean, it can tempt you all to kind of look through them. So, as you can see, this is all character and story stuff. But not all the videos are in yet because it's going to take a long time. Of course, I've got over 200 videos that I've got to categorise and name, but the most recent ones and the very early ones are already in there. They're the ones I've done so far, and over time it'll probably take several weeks to finally be properly done, because I'm probably only going to do a couple a day, a few a day, and then everything will be here in order over time. So much better than just a mass of videos that are all the same and you don't know what happened during each stream, because so many times, right, like you guys have come in stream and you've been curious what has been happening the previous streams, like maybe you've not been around for a few weeks or so, and then I'm like, oh yeah, we discussed so and so the other week, but I can never always remember what stream it was. So then nobody ever knows or watches the video. But this way it's going to be much easier to be like, oh yeah, it's this one. It's that video. That's the VOD to watch. And I've made like pretty thumbnails for, well, I found them on a, what do you call it? On a free image site where it's no copyright. Creative Commons, that's it, Creative Commons illustrations. I found them and then just made them a pretty colour, so it looks all colourful now. So yeah, folks, oh no, we got a blooming bot again. They love me, don't they, these bots? They absolutely adore me. They're here every stream. Okay, so for anyone who wants to have a look, if you're not subbed yet to my channel, feel free to, because you'll be missing out on all the fun of what it is. It's the place, YouTube, where every single stream gets put up, so it's our kind of little storage library space, because Twitch is dreadful when it comes to like VODs and videos, because I mean, you can highlight them all, and that's what I did in the beginning. I just highlighted all the videos and had them on Twitch, but the visibility is terrible on Twitch and no one ever like finds them. But on YouTube, I've had people many a time say, oh yeah, I found you on YouTube, one of your videos has come up and was suggested. So I think YouTube is just the better one, so they're all on there for sure. Okay, so now on to the exciting stuff. Zexy's message, I was reading it and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have a character chat stream today, because last stream was super interesting, guys, because things were raised about certain characters, particularly Rose, that was really interesting, and it's made me think, do we need to like really analyse things that are happening so far, make sure everyone's in character and this is going the path that we want the story to go. because we're making great progress on main quest 1 and 2. The scenes themselves have been almost done for a while now, but we're on the stage where we're going over them, polishing them, making sure everything's all right. And I think that's very important, especially because there's no rush. Episode 1 is only going to have 6 main quests in it. It's not like we've got 20 main quests to do and we're in a rush and we feel we've got to be quick and get the next quest done. And the first build's only going to have this and the next quest in it anyway, so might as well make it good, right? Plus, it's the part of the story that you got to hook the audience in. And I'm one of these that want every single dialogue box uttered by someone to matter and flesh out the world, the character, or move the plot along, you know. So I'm a big fan. I find it super fun to really dissect the story and the characters and kind of ask things and be like, is this good? What about this and that? So I had fun last stream. I thought it was some very interesting things with Rose, and I'm going to mention a few things about Rose today and Carol. In fact, I'm going to get up the character sheet because we might want to make some notes on Rose as well, because so far we've got these profiles for the barrel characters, but I think we need to think about Rose too, especially because she's such a key part in the first 2 quests. We can't forget about her. I mean, I started doing something here, but that's not really something to look at. That's not really Rose. That's just the archetype, the rebel. And to be honest, I don't know if she is the rebel anymore. So I'm tempted to delete that, but I won't because it might come in handy for reference. So I'll just put it over there for now. Okay. So where do we begin? And as far as a viewer, I hate watching VODs. The user experience is subpar in my opinion. On Twitch, you mean, Zexay? Or do you mean in general, watching VODs on whatever the platform? It's all very interesting things to know. Because I kind of want to encourage people to watch my VODs as much as possible. And I know that it can be a bit of a task to watch all such long streams, but yeah, sometimes you don't even need to watch the whole thing. Sometimes it's interesting to have a peek, right, and have a nosy. But I'm definitely, if you mean Twitch, I'm definitely with you that it's kind of sucks a bit on Twitch. YouTube's nice though. Okay, so as for this, I agree, and I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting. But what drew me particularly was, well, all of it did, to be honest, but this bit here was interesting because we talked a bit about the possibility of Rose being inside Carol in the next quest, because Rose was meant to be sacrificed, wasn't she? Fiona's going to expect Rose to be dead, so you're going to have the option, possibly, in the next quest, to hide Rose in Carol, so that so Fiona thinks she's dead and it's all being dealt with, or you could have the option to just be bold and just let her just walk into Lightfall and not have a care in the world. So that would be interesting, because that would be a kind of point where we can see this that's being mentioned, and like he says, it would probably work best if it was a recurring theme, and there we go. That would be a point where we'd see it, one of many times when we'll see it, most likely. So yeah, on Twitch, the video player and user interface is annoying. It's a Twitch side issue. Yeah, Twitch needs to sort it out. They do. So the thing is, like, well, here it is. So these are, looking at this, these are the options that you think could be best. So we've got 3 options there of how it can all go at the start. And whatever one we go for, it's such a small amendment that it's not going to shake things up or be a problem to just do. Because I'm redoing this scene anyway, because we've done a complete expansion of the whole scene. So there's 90% of this scene I'm obviously going to be redoing anyway in RPG Maker. And that's probably what we're going to be doing more towards the end of the month. In between the Christmas whole period, of course, because I'll obviously be having a stream off on Christmas Day, because I believe, Christmas Day falls on a Friday on a day stream, so I won't be streaming then. But I might stream on the other days, but we'll see. I'll keep you in the know, folks. So yes, right now, Carol tells you to get out and start speaking while you're still inside her. So we have an option here to either have it be the same, but have you get out first and then she says those things, or or there's this one as well, the falling over one, which could work too. So there's many ways we can take that, and there's something to think about there because it's the start of the scene. So like we said, it's important because we gotta make people be like, oh, this is interesting, a living barrel, because it's the first time everybody's going to meet Carol and see her. So we'll think that I'm actually going to make a Google Doc, because I think we should make some notes on it to just get all the thoughts together. So how do I copy and paste this? Here. Okay, so we'll use this as a okay. So anything that gets said, there might be a few little small, I'll actually make bullet points of this, things to think about. So the Carol thing at the moment is still kind of up in the air, like how she's going to react. Because I think that's something that we could take a few directions, you know, with whatever's going to work best. So we'll talk about that in a bit as well. As for anything else, one thing I wondered about, I was looking through the dialogue. I wondered about the word bunghole as well. I was like, could Carol say bunghole? Now, I love it. Bunghole's great because it's kind of got this double meaning. Bunghole is a barrel part, and it also sounds like bumhole, so there's this double meaning that actually really works well for that. But Carol being a prude, would that be something she'd utter? I'm not saying she wouldn't. It's just something to think about. Like Carol's language and way of speaking, because we know that she's kind of prude. In fact, I want to add prude to this list. let's look at the definition of prude. Let's just have a proper. It also means moralist and goody-goody. I wouldn't say she's a goody-goody, really, but she's just, you know, when it comes to being romanced by the hero, she's going to be a very difficult one, because she doesn't have anything about her that would enjoy that. Like, she's very offish, but quite naive when it comes to love and romance, and she probably wouldn't like being touched, as we discussed last stream. It got mentioned about her being a germaphobe, but I think it's less of her being a germaphobe and more about her just like not liking that sort of closeness with people, because she's a bit of a prude and a bit of a funny and a bit of a hard one to romance, and that makes her an interesting romance option, I think. And hi Try, how are you doing? I join and immediately see MBTI. This is relevant to my interest. Yeah, the personality types there for Carol, because I think it's sometimes interesting to have that as a base for your character, that's for sure. And it can kind of make you like think, oh yeah, how would they handle a situation better when you kind of know that. It's a very good starting point. How are you doing though, Try? And Zexy says, it comes down to how much agency do you want to give Carol. If you want to go really hard on the helpless aspect, then have the NPC get out on their own accord, or have Carol fall over. If you'd rather show that Carol will eventually lash out, have her force the MC out. The forcing the hero out is an interesting one, but would that contradict what we're going with here? Where is it? When we basically, when you said, Zexy, that she's like, she'll go quiet when someone's in her, and she'll only rage when they're out, because she's secretly fearful of getting hurt and smashed, because that's what happened to her parents. And Carol's an interesting one, because although she's got these fears, she definitely wouldn't show them very clearly, because she's got too much of an ego and she's too proud to make her fears too noticeable. So it's about doing it in this really subtle way, that when we finally watch that flashback and we see what happens, we realise, oh, that's why Carol was like that whenever we've been. It's like you said, that's a way to make it resonate with the audience more. But it's about getting that balance so we don't go too far and make us come across as a fearful character, because Carol's always been very arrogant, very proud, very egotistical. Almost in a way that you think, oh, that Carol, you know, wouldn't fear anything. She's almost a badass, really, but she does deep down. Your hair is very glossy today, or it's always glossy. Try. I think the lights make it look even more glossy, that's for sure. But that's a good thing. Gotta have glossy hair. For Bunghole, Carol might not even realise it sounds like butthole. After all, even though she listens to humans, I doubt she follows them into the bathroom, so she might not realise that it has a double meaning. That's interesting as well. And imagine if there was a moment when you could potentially say to her in a dialogue choice, or another character in the party could say, like, find it amusing and be like, bunghole, that sounds like bumhole, and kind of laugh about it, and Carol would be like, what do you mean? And we could kind of show Carol's naivety and innocence and then her prude side could come out and be a lot more visible then, because that's true. Because it was something I considered when I was looking through the dialogue. Carol's not the type to be crude, and that's why I kind of thought maybe that she's quite prude, because she's very much not a crass person, although she's very, very blunt. and can be mean or even rude. She definitely is not crass. If anyone's crass out of the Barrel Gang, it's definitely Axel and probably Meryl, because Meryl's learnt from Axel, so she's more likely to be the one who would be. Alvira definitely wouldn't, and Hank might be. I think Hank would be quite an open-minded fellow, but I don't think he'd be overly crass. He's a bit of a gent. Might be the lightning, yes. It really lights up my face, that lightning does, but gotta have it because you'll see my green screen. My green screen would be showing. And, okay. I'm trying to look for the opposite meaning of crass so we can get the proper word, but no, I'm not finding one. Actually, that's an idea. Sprinkle a few things with throughout a dialogue that is crude, but Carol doesn't realise. That way we get to see her reaction to finding out what some terms mean. You can show the player she's crude, yeah. And I think there's something really endearing about that as well, don't you guys? That having moments where Carol's learning things and being a little bit embarrassed, even being like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, and getting all aggressive over being embarrassed, and she like blush and stuff, and it could be like a potential bonding moment between Carol and the hero, potentially, depending on what you say to her. You could make fun of her, or you could be like, oh, it's not so bad. So we could make a note there. So I'm going to put, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make some subheadings of the different characters. So first we've got Carol, but we also have Rose. So we'll be talking about both of them today, but we might talk about the other characters too. I mean, we have Nigel and Fiona as characters we meet in Main Quest 1 and 2 as well. So we might discuss them too. But we'll concentrate more on Carol and Rose at this point in time. So, because there's a lot to talk about. And is Axel crude because he's an oil drum? So he was filled with crude oil. I love it. You know, I didn't actually click, but now it just works. It just works. We did a similar thing. A similar thing happened with Woody, because we were thinking of descriptions for the characters, and we said Woody's definitely sleazy. Woody's your typical like salesman type of guy. He thinks he's got the charm and the good looks and smoothness, but he's actually a little bit sleazy, really. But and we looked at the meaning of sleazy. Well, Van looked at the meaning of sleazy, and it literally meant cardboard box. Well, not literally cardboard box, but that's what it was. Let me find the definition. Yeah, that's it. Sleazy means flimsy and inferior materials, I think. We were looking at the meanings of that word, and we're like, that's Woody. He's a cardboard box, so he is flimsy and is an inferior material. So it was perfect, and that works the same with Axel. You know, as she says, crude oil, and he's crude as well. And I definitely think Meryl would have learnt a bit of that behaviour from him. And out of the two sisters, Meryl's the more crude one, and Carol's the innocent prude one, who would never dare. And when she realises she's been saying bunghole and it sounds like bumhole, she's going to be quite embarrassed. Hi Val, oh my goodness, long time no see. How goes the RPG? Going okay, Val? Going all right. We're just getting nerdy about the characters. How are things been for you? But things are going well. We're looking for a first playable build release in March. Things have changed a lot since you've probably been here. The scope of the game has definitely got larger. I have a Steam page for episode 1, but the Steam page isn't going public till a little while longer, but it probably won't be long till it goes public, but not quite yet. But it's exciting times. But just because the Steam page, it's still going to be a while since the game's released. But we came to the conclusion that it's a really good idea to get a Steam page early, like years early, because you can gather wish lists, basically. And exciting times, lol snap. That's good to hear. Oh my goodness, Val, thank you so much for the prime. Guys, can we have some hype for Val in chat?
That's good to hear.
For that sub. Appreciate the love. How are things on your end now? But yes, I remember the days when I thought the Raindrop Chronicles episode 1 would be out in a few months from when I first started making it. I was looking through some of my very early VODs over the weekend, and I literally thought the game would be finished in like 3 months, the first episode. But things were very different back then. That's what we gotta realise. I was planning for it to be free to play, and I was planning on it just being just a parody game, like just a really fun thing that had no depth to it, basically, that I was going to just make overnight, a bit like how a game jam would work to a certain extent, just something very quick. But over time I've become to be more serious about it and kind of approaching it as a real story. And yeah, things have progressed, that's for sure. And I found Steam quite involved. I started making my first one on Friday. Hi Fuzzy, how's it going? Making your first Steam game, Fuzzy? If so, that's awesome. Okay. Never that easy. Definitely not that easy if you want to make something that's meaningful and very well crafted. Then 100% not that easy. I think it's possible for people to make games in 24 hours or a week. A friend of mine did that the other week themselves for a game jam. But usually it's very rushed and very rough around the edges if you're going to do something that quick. You definitely wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, which is really scrutinising and analysing all the dialogue and characters, because you wouldn't have time for that. You just think, gotta move on now, we've got to do the next scene. So the approach has completely changed. We very much spend a lot of time really carefully thinking things through now. Game jams are great for initial concepting and getting feedback, yes. It just got to the point with Raindrop Chronicles that I realised that it had a lot of potential. It started out as a joke, but then there was this plot brewing under the surface and this really interesting lore. And it was the point when I made that lore video of the barrels back in March this year. I think that's really what started that spark for taking the project more seriously, because I was like, this is actually really interesting and I really like the story. I want it to be a proper story now, and I'm going to go all out. I'm going to actually do this as a job. Even though it doesn't pay me enough, I'm going to do it. And you never know where it'd go, but still, I believe in following your passions. That's what life's about. Okay, so where were we? Oh yes, we were making notes about Carol. So we said one thing about Carol is that she very early on references her bunghole. So Carol is a prude and innocent. So I'm gonna state some facts about the characters. We're gonna set in stone what they are really like, and we're gonna keep as consistent as possible with their behaviour throughout, because we've done 10 scenes so far. Well, actually 9, because we haven't started the 10th one yet. There's 5 in Main Quest 1 and 5 in Main Quest 2. Those are the 2 quests we've done so far. And it's very, I want us to make sure there's no inconsistencies in these 9 scenes, because last stream we kind of thought there might be a few. We were looking through things and we were like, hang on, why would Carol say that, or why would Rose do that? There was a few little things, and so this is all very fun, because particularly with Rose, because some really interesting things were raised with Rose's character last stream, and I think we might need to change the character somewhat, just a touch. And now's the best time to do it if we're going to do it before we've released the first playable build, and before we get really involved and very heavy in the main quest. So hope it's all going well. Hi Nongi, how are things for you? I hope you're good. Hope you're having a good Monday. Weekend went well. And 420, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. So Carol is prude and innocent. Was what we just talked about. So Zex, he said, so Carol's a romance option, everybody, if you wasn't aware. This makes it more interesting. The fact that she's prude and very innocent. I'm gonna reword this. Innocent when it comes to romance. Or naive. What's the best word here? Because I don't want to say innocent, because she's actually quite streetwise, and you know, she's learned a lot in her time as a barrel. So she's not innocent in general, but she is when it comes to love and romance. Oh gosh, she's very innocent. She just wouldn't have a clue. That's why she's an interesting romance option, because there's a real potential character arc growth there. You know, starting off as someone very disinterested and prude, to someone who might find love with you as a hero. It's all very interesting, and it's endearing as well, because we'll get to see her get a bit embarrassed when she has a reaction. And know about human biology for Carol, maybe. Yeah, so Carol is prude. We can put that on another bullet point, actually. And if you anyone wants to expand on that, feel free to write a bit more. And Steam game, have you finished your Steam page? Not yet. It's not public yet, Fuzzy. I've got the beta up of it. And I'm kind of like getting everything prepared. It's going to take a bit of time because I need to make sure everything looks good and is awesome. But I am hoping in a few weeks, you know, it'll be up then. I don't want to leave it too late because I want to get the wish list built up. I recommend any indie who doesn't really have a big audience to do that, because otherwise when you release your game you might not sell much. So it's important to get that wish list over time, because that build up is kind of guaranteeing you then some sales. And so yeah, do it, get your Steam page up months, even years in advance. You know, not just weeks in advance. I prefer naive too. I think naive. And okay, so I mean, we've got naive there, so I don't want to be repetitive. It's a difficult word to pin down because you know, I don't want to put naive there and naive there. And does this game have voice actors? No, Fuzzy, because it's too high budget to get voice actors. I mean, this is a zero budget project. I mean, there's the option for funding, but there's, you know, I'm a small creator. I'm not going to get thousands of pounds, so it's all like a small trickle over time. And the Steam interface for uploading is a bit annoying. Yeah, there's a lot of work involved in all the uploading, and oblivious to romance, perhaps. Maybe oblivious is a good word, yeah. I think naive definitely worked there, I agree with you. But because we're using it for this line, I'm just a bit of a weirdo when it comes to repeating words. So you're using just text, yes, and text games are wonderful, guys. You know, voice acting's great too. I mean, the voice acting games are great, but I think there's also this assumption that, you know, 2D games or text-only games are not as good as 3D or voice acting games, which is untrue, because both kinds of games are wonderful in their own ways, right, folks? I think nostalgia is very strong with text-based games as well. Plus, there's a lot of pros to having a text-only based game, guys. You can be more ambitious with your dialogue and your branching paths. You don't feel restricted, like you can only have that dialogue, because with voice acted dialogue you can only afford to have so much, or people can only read a certain amount of lines before, you know, it becomes a bit much. And also you can translate to other languages as well, potentially. You know, there's always that option there to do that, which is an interesting thing too. But Raindrop Chronicles is going to be huge when it comes to branching paths. Like, episode 1 is going to be quite wild with its branching paths. I mean, it's not going to be like over the top, because we can't be, because it'll get too much for us in episode 2 onwards if we get too crazy. But it's definitely going to have very high replayability value because of the differences with how things can go and turn out. Gosh, it would frigging... It's just a bit unwise, you know, to think that this project has the scope for voice acting. You know, it's zero budget. Now you're avoiding redundance by ensuring you don't repeat itself. And yeah, exactly, Nungi. I'm very anti-repeated words. I was like, no, can we think of another word? Are you making music for it? No, I'm using the composer that we have in the background on the stream, actually. I'm no composer, guys. I'm not like that talented. I'd love to be. I find composing music fascinating. But guys, I'm not a superhuman, even though I want to be. I'm already doing 10 jobs. And greetings, fellow humans. Hi, it's Storm Raven. How are things going? I hope you're having a good day. So I'm just thinking, is it then spelled like bunhole? Bunhole? What's a bunhole? So bunghole is a barrel part, right? Let's get bunghole defined. Bunghole, guys. I can't get it up because it's on my other screen. Well, I could. I can show it there. Bunghole. An aperture through which a cask can be filled or emptied. A bunghole is a hole bored into a liquid type barrel to remove contents. You know, it was great. It was a great. It's so awesome that happens to be a barrel part, because it gives that double meaning with bunghole. Now, the only thing I'm wondering is it one word? You know, because when I googled it had bunghole in one, so I had it before as two separate words, but I actually think it's one word, right? I'm very fussy with things like that. I like to 100% make sure that the words and that are written as they should be. So if anyone ever notices anything like that, feel free to point it out. There's a lot of prose to text based, like puns. Get it, prose instead of prose. And I'm doing great, but my ears aren't. I keep hearing bumhole. Good, that's what you meant here, Storm. Just be careful, because bunghole is also used as slang for a part of the human autonomy. Why? What's the slang? Interesting, didn't know it was a real word. Yeah, it's a barrel part. And hi Rose, how's your weekend? And are you alright? Hi Rod, how's it going? It's good to see you. Alexa said bunghole is usually written in one word. Awesome, so we've got it down properly. But I'm curious what it is for the human body now. Do you mean bumhole? Because if so, that's the point, yeah. But yeah, the double meaning thing. So, but you never know, it could mean something else. I'm curious now, I have to say. Human one is probably, but yeah, but that's exactly why we put it there in the first place, because we were like, oh wow, bunghole, it all sounds a bit like bunghole, doesn't it? And Carol don't know that she's saying this word because she's like, oh, that's just a barrel part. She doesn't realise what it actually does mean to a human, and that's why she's going to get embarrassed. So now and again, a few things may be sprinkled throughout the dialogue that is crude, but Carol doesn't realise we will get to see her reaction to what some terms mean. She may get a little embarrassed. Actually, let's reword this. Have a fun, safe day. Yeah, I hope you're doing good, Rod. Hope things are going well. You had a fun weekend. Have to go to Bum now. Bum. Can you believe I said that? I read what Nungi said, which was, I have to go to bed now, and I said, I have to go to Bum now. This is what happens when we talk about these things, lol. And take care and keep working hard, Rose. You did so well. Thank you, Nungi. Thank you so much. What's it taking over? They are. Yeah, they definitely are. So things may be sprinkled throughout dialogue is crude, but Carol doesn't realise we'll get to see a reaction to what some terms mean. So, e.g., when she says bunghole, in regards to the barrel part, her barrel part, or should we say it? Wow, I can't spell. Not means, sounds like. And she will get embarrassed. Why is that suggesting that to me? Go away. She will get embarrassed. And this is meant to be endearing. This is the purpose of this. So that we can warm to Carol a bit, because Carol's a very arrogant, aggressive and hostile character. She's your typical Sundayer. So we want to have moments where we like, oh, that's cute, you know. So really that's the purpose. I'm going to have weird dreams about barrels and bumholes. Good night. And she has a vicious... Yeah, that's true as well. So, but embarrassed is definitely what she'd feel, but Carol would try her best to hide that, you know, Carol. She doesn't want to show vulnerabilities. She will get embarrassed and show... Well, and have... I like that word in sexy, I have to say, so I'm actually going to say it. Very eloquent of you. She will get embarrassed and have this prudish reaction, and the purpose of this is for it to be endearing. May point out sounds like bumhole and describe what part of the body that is to a human. She will get embarrassed and have, yeah, perfect. So that also will go on to connect with this one as well. See above. But you know, this is an opportunity. This sort of thing could happen multiple times, where Carol learns about the differences with barrels and humans, because as we know, Carol and barrels in general and other containers don't have like digestive systems or any of that going on inside them. They're just hollow inside. So because they don't have that like us humans do, or any other humanoid race, it means that they don't have to eat, they don't have to poop, they don't have to care for themselves in that way. They don't have to drink water. So that life's a bit easier for them in regards to that. But it's also, they do have their challenges. The fact that they're only made out of wood means their security and the way they survive, they have to be very careful, because they could easily get damaged and broken. Unlike humans, they're a little bit more resilient. Flesh is a little bit more resilient, maybe. It's sometimes not, because if you get stabbed, you're dead. But I definitely think that barrels are definitely less resilient, especially someone like Oliver, who is a ceramic cookie jar. He's frigging fragile. And the other barrels are woody as well. Yes, I've said it wrong, haven't I? Yep, it's come out wrong. That happens a lot with me. Remember that, guys, it happens a lot. The once I wrote, what was it now? I was writing a character's profile, and still haven't wrote right there. There, it's right now. I was writing a character's profile and I wrote completely the wrong word, and it was ridiculously funny when people read it. And I was like, oh no, it wasn't meant to be that word. That was an accident. Because when I'm typing things up, I just type it up sometimes and it's riddled with typos until I read it after and realise. Okay, so we're clearing things up a bit with Carol here, so let's start from the beginning. We're going back to the start again. So we got the gross thing. Again, that is making clear to us about the prudeness. The fact that she says the word gross is very prudish. Feeling violated, not liking people inside her, prudish. But it goes deeper than that with Carol. It might seem on the surface in the beginning that she's just a prude and she's just, a mean Sundayer, and that's why she doesn't like it. But there's a tragic backstory there with her that gives more of a reason for why she's behaving this way, which is actually posted in the Ideas Discussion channel. So, but you're not going to find out, well, the player isn't going to find out that anyway until a later flashback, a later part of the game. But you guys on stream might find out because we talk about it. So, okay, so now we decided with the word stinking flesh here as an insult because you are in the nude when you come out of the barrel. At the start of the game, we recently decided we will approach it that way, and later on you'll get your outfit and put it on at the end of the scene, based on what class you are. But stinking flesh, which is the first word that came into my mind. I think whatever word we have or whatever adjective we have to describe flesh, it needs to again connect with the fact that she's a prude and disgusted, because it's always better, and this was mentioned last stream as well, if the insults that you give connect to who you are as a character and your traits and backstory. So stinking obviously means smelly, and she's offended by the scent of the flesh. That's kind of what we're going with there, but maybe there's a better adjective that fits with the whole Carol being a prude thing even more. So I'm going to just for now put a question mark there because I'm not 100% sure about that one. It might work, but there might be better. And then we've got the bunghole thing, and she might, and obviously like we said, she might say that a few times, and eventually it'll get pointed out to her what she's actually saying, and that'll be when we have that moment. Okay, so the next scene. Okay, I think something that's very important to say about Carol as well. Carol thinks highly of herself and is proud of being a barrel. Well, I still have to get groceries myself. If you're gonna get some yummy foods, get lots of nice foods, I dare you. And I hope your groceries are yummy, Zexy. I hope you got some yummy stuff. Okay, so she thinks highly of herself and is proud of being a barrel. I want to state that because sometimes people in the past who've only just started getting to know Carol have thought that maybe she'd get offended about being called a barrel, as if being called a barrel's an insult, but it's not. She is proud of her barrel kindness, the fact she's a barrel. And like here, this lovely barrel you are looking at is very well. She calls herself lovely. She thinks highly of herself. She thinks she's a catch. This box connects with her tragic backstory. That does as well in a way, because she's kind of making sure she doesn't get damaged, and that's why she's trying to convince the hero here that he should protect her. She'll feel a bit safer. So that's all good. I mean, we could go on forever if we want to make a bullet list of Carol and what she thinks and what she's like. We could have pages if we wanted to. So we're not going to do every single one, but today is just an opportunity to talk about her and raise some potential questions from what we've currently written in the dialogue. And you can look on the little Bible, folks, to see these. Okay. The other character we would needed to discuss was Rose. I mean, we're probably not finished with Carol. There's certainly a lot more we can say, especially stuff that's been said here. We can also write a bit more of that too, which I'm going to think about now actually before we move on to Rose, because Rose is someone we have a lot of discussing to do with today, that's for sure. I love the Get Out. I love Get Out being the first line of Carol. I love that immediate aggression from the very first meeting that we have with her. So I would like to keep that. I'd only want to replace it if there was 100% something that was even better than that. So I'm trying to think how to potentially go about this, but still keep that line, because I really like this direction here that Zex has suggested. So, because if the hero gets out of Carol first, say if we write it as you arriving Lakefall without any clothes on, poke your head out of the barrel and climb out. Like, say we do that the hero actually gets out of Carol first. We can't say get out then as Carol, because it's what we've already gotten out. But the reason why we're thinking of just changing it so the hero gets out first rather than Carol tells them to get out is because realistically, with the past that we've written for Carol in the recent streams, she would not risk her life by being violent while somebody's in her in case she gets smashed. It makes complete sense that she wouldn't, but there's still something very entertaining about her violent aggression and her lashing out the hero here. So we want to keep that as much as possible. So it's an interesting one. Okay, let me get my focus brain on. There are plenty of times in cartoons, anime, books where someone says something just after another character has already done the thing. Oh, okay. I'm wanting an example now of that, just so I can get the link. what you mean done the thing. But by done the thing, do you mean when the hero gets out of Carol being the thing? Because I think it could work that we do it like that. We get the hero get out, and then we have a violent reaction, and much of it could stay the same, in all honesty, to what's here, especially these 2 sentences. There'd be no need to change those. It's just the get out thing, because they've already got out, but as you say, many do it. So I'm curious for a video or a scene example now, so I can be like, oh yeah, that's true. But if it feels a bit weird to have get out, you know, if something about it feels weird, we could easily just amend the first line just a touch, but it still mean the same thing. It's just such an important scene, isn't it? Because it's that first opening, and that's why I'm very like wanting to keep loyal to the original as much as possible, because it was a good moment. We don't want to make the scene worse. And I'll try to find some. If I do, I send them on Discord tonight also. Okay, so I mean this Carol scene, like we said, because it's the first scene, and there's a lot of, there's so much we could do. There's probably dozens of ways we can handle this scene, so it's just gonna take some brain, some thinking. So we might get back to that, but we can always discuss Rose for the time being and sit on this one for a bit longer before we completely make our mind up how it's all gonna go. But one thing I'm thinking of, where are we? Cross that off. Thank you, Behold, for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Though actually the get out could be her shouting her frustration, anger, rather than an actual order to the MC. That could work too. I think it's about making, I'd still like this scene to have, you know, some sort of punch, like, but literally there's a punch at the start of the scene with how she like slams into the hero. So, but I mean, like, you know, metaphorically, I'd like there to be that moment where you're like, whoa, you know, and that unexpected moment that hits you. And right now it definitely does, because it's just a surprise that a barrel that's normally non-sentient wakes up and then aggressively attacks heroes. So what I'm thinking is what you suggested here, this last one, because this one here, I mean, that's the easiest solution for sure, and probably the easiest to do as well in RPG Maker animation wise. But with this one, I mean, that one doesn't pack as much of a punch or shock value. It's just more simple, but this one might still work, we'll say. No problem, thank you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for being here. So maybe, like, I'm trying to think from Carol's perspective here. There's a person inside her and she just wants them to get out. She could get them out by falling and kind of I mean this one as well. Wow, this is a challenging one, because it's so, oh my goodness. It's like the pros of going along this route are really good for Carol's character development and backstory that's here, but the drawback with it is that it could potentially make the opening scene not as amusing or like lovable as it has been. So it's like managing to pull it off so it's still awesome. and but still connects so that it's consistent with the character we're trying to build in the backstory. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Rose, though, is another one to talk about. So let's get... I need to do a new page for this one. Maybe things will come to me though. Sometimes you just need time to sit on it. And would Don't You Touch Me have the same kind of punch as Get Out? It could do. I'm trying to think now. Let's imagine how that scene goes. If there was an exclamation mark after it and she was like jumping, and we really showed her rage in the Avatar face set. You know, I mean, one thing I want to get commissioned first is a set of expressions for Carol. So in regards to that, we can have a potentially very angry face, and that with the dialogue would clearly work for her, showing that she's angry and that, I think, and it would still be shock value perhaps, because it's about who's angry, who's telling you to not touch. I mean, Don't Touch Me works. I think we could potentially think of a few lines here, but that one could work. But I want us to keep our options open for what could go there. So or like don't I don't know if this one's very good, but Don't Come Near Me could be another. Don't Do That Again could be one as well. You know, there's a lot of ways, but ultimately, whatever that very first line is, that first angry line, I think it has to connect with this. And the fact that it's such a problem for her, because then that it's awesome. I think the very first sentence of the game refers to everything with Carol's character arc and the way and everything that's happened in that flashback, and you're like, oh yeah, that very first line, Carol was so angry, when, you know, it just is a little bit more meaningful that way. Stay away from me, human slayer. That's another too. Like, we could make a massive list of exclamations like angry Carol dialogues, but ultimately, yes, if it connects to the fact that Carol hates someone being inside her, then it's a win, because that's ultimately what the opening line has to connect with. If we're going to change it from Get Out to something else, it has to connect with, I don't like humans inside me, and stay away from me, never touch me again, or don't do that again, or, you know, something like that. It does. So any could work. And hi Van, how's it going? I'm a little late today, had a bunch of work stuff I had to sort through. Well, it's awesome to see you, and I hope you're having a great day. We're having a fun stream, Van, so far. It's all about scrutinising the scenes, the 9 scenes we've done so far, as closely as possible now. So we're looking at Carol's behaviour, we're going to look at Rose's behaviour soon, so that they are consistent and everything makes sense with how everything's going. So we're making some notes about Carol. We've got, she's prude and oblivious when it comes to romance. Carol's naive about human biology, and all these things like this. So because there was a debate that we had earlier on whether bunghole was even an appropriate word for Carol. Now it's brilliant, because, you know, bunghole, bumhole, the double meaning, that's why we picked it on the first place. But there was the question of, would Carol be too prude to say such a word? But that's kind of the point with what we said here. You know, Carol doesn't realise that it's crude, because to her it's just a barrel part, but there's a chance for it to get brought up in a future conversation by someone, and they're like, yeah, that's a bumhole, and describes what it is to a human, and she gets embarrassed and has a really extreme prudish reaction, and it's meant like a chance for it to be funny and endearing, I guess. So that's what we're going for so far, and we're also thinking about something Zexy posted in the ideas discussion channel as well, which I think is pretty cool and very interesting stuff. So all this is making us think very, very closely about the characters and their fears, and, you know, having those fears come out consistently within the dialogue in the scenes and be connected to everything that they say, and that all that stuff is very cool and what makes a good story, really. That's what it comes down to, when you really carefully consider like everything. So and as crass as she is, though, is she really that prude? I'd say so. I think making Carol be prude, at least at the start of the game, will be more of a surprise, a nice surprise, when she warms to us, as she becomes a romance option, if she becomes a romance option. So it's that contrast, that growth of character. Like, she started as a prude, but she's a lot of the prudeness as well comes from the fact that it's a human, and she's kind of very anti-human for the, and, you know, understandably so from Carol's point of view. But I think she'd be a bit prude in general anyway. She doesn't like Axel, and she doesn't like Woody, and she's you know, I don't think that romance is her cup of tea in general, even with her own kind. She's definitely very blunt, and she's not shy with her words, but when it comes to overly crusive, I think you might see a side of her that gets a bit embarrassed. I don't know, it's something worth considering, but it's something that makes her an interesting romance option as well. And the discussion about her being a germaphobe, I mean, I don't think she is a germaphobe, really. It's more that she's a prude rather than a germaphobe, and doesn't like being touched. But that's the impression that we're giving people, I guess, that she's overly fussy and doesn't like people invading a space, which is very apparent from this very beginning point. But really it goes deeper than that, because really it comes down to the fact that, well, her parents got killed when a bunch of kids were actually inside the barrels in that flashback. They were playing with it, they got inside, and the barrels just died because humans were messing with them and invading their space. So really, that Carol's afraid of that deep down, her getting killed, but she'd never admit it. But it comes out to us as, oh, she just is she just doesn't like she doesn't like people being near her or touched for whatever reason. And have you been doing game dev for long? Kind of nutbuster. Well, what is long to you? Long has many, it's subjective, I guess. Long could be a month, or a year, or 10 years, or 100 years. And does she dislike Woody, or does she get annoyed with him in a playful way, like would you with a childhood friend? I think she's kind of a bit prudish. I don't know if prude is the right word to say here. I've got a bit of a habit of saying prude. But if Woody was to flirt with Carol, she would get a bit funny. Like, she wouldn't like it. And she's kind of like, and she throws a kind of a bit of a Carol-like tantrum over it. And because Woody does flirt with Carol, he's probably got a bit of a thing for her. And he tries his look, and she just like, no, not you. I'm not interested in you. And So she's very like just disinterested in romance. I guess that's what it is. She's oblivious and disinterested in romance, at least at this point in the story. I mean, as we know, she is a romance option, so we know there's going to be character growth and change. And I think that's why I'm very tempted to start off this way with Carol, where she is prude at the start and oblivious, because then it makes more of a difference as it goes on. And that character change and growth, I think it's always very, very fun and awesome to see. And Carol has another quality like Ashara, is probably very prudish himself, but not in an unknowledgeable way, more like it's a beneath me way. Yeah, so when it comes to prude, there's many definitions of prude, isn't there? And Carol's prude for her own reasons, you know, and I guess it's that invading of her space is the thing with Carol. I think that's what it comes down to. Especially someone of another race. Even more so, she doesn't want to, because of the risk, the high risk involved of her safety. Because like we says, barrel have to be careful, they're only made out of wood. It would make complete sense for a barrel to not want someone near them, because especially if they've seen it with their own eyes, that they're someone they know, another barrel, a relative of theirs, has been killed because someone was invading their space. You know, that would really have an effect on you, and to a certain degree. You've watched a barrel, your own parents, get smashed because of a bunch of humans just touching you all over and playing on you and climbing on you. It would make you just want nobody to go near you ever again, right? That's kind of how I'm seeing it. And at the beginning, we don't know that, of course. We have no clue that Carol's parents died that way. But so we'll probably just assume, oh, this barrel really is she's just... Like, we won't really understand why she's angry. We'll find it funny and amusing, but we don't really know why she's behaving like that. But when it all comes out, the whole point is for it to be written in a way that it makes sense to us, and we have that moment where we realise. Beneath me, so Sharu is the top. Yeah, Sharu's definitely prudish, but in a different way to Carol. It's funny how there's parallels with your character and Carol. They've got these things in common, but yet they're also opposites as well, because they're very different as well. I think Asharu is probably way more calmer and collected than Carol, and is far more composure, whereas Carol just lets it all out. She don't care. She'll just go insane on someone. Carol talks before she thinks, you know, whereas Asharu probably thinks before he speaks, maybe. Demanding personality. Yeah. So, this is all really fun stuff. I'd still like us to talk about Carol and consider her, because, especially with this opening scene, because if anyone's interested, feel free to look what Zex has written in the Ideas Discussion channel. All this means, I mean, I think we should highly consider this for Carol. All it would require, if we was going to do this, and it very much all relates to her tragic backstory with the parents getting smashed and how she feels about it all and how it affects her, what happened then on that day. All it would require would be literally a slight change of this dialogue box, you know, and we'd want only a slight change because we want to keep that punch, you know, we want to keep that shock value, Carol's hostility, and because that's what makes this scene so great. Like you just think, oh, this is just another RPG, and then you see the living barrel, the angry living barrel. It's just like a real whoa moment, because you wouldn't expect it. You'd think, okay, didn't expect a barrel to come to life and tell me off. So that is a part of the scene we want to keep as much as possible, and it would only really require a slight alteration so that it doesn't clash with how, what's being said here, and all Carol's internal thoughts about people being inside her and how that's affecting her. And but also not using my suggestion is perfectly valid, yeah, but I think it makes it better. I think connecting how Carol behaves to her past is really what makes a good story, so I think it's highly worth considering, even if we have to, think, well, we have to do it like this because it's the only way we're going to work. We might not follow what you've said to a T if necessary, but it's a starting point and something worth considering because it makes sense. I'm all for backstory connecting with their sort of present day behaviour. It just has more impact when that backstory is then revealed. Because there's nothing worse is that when you think, well, why would they do that? That doesn't make sense with their character. So any opportunity to do that right is cool. I'm always like for it if it's going to make it better and more powerful. I'm not for it when it's going to make it worse. So so that's it really, and all it comes down to. Okay, so Rose was the next topic of discussion, and my plaits are kind of falling out a bit. Got a clip there though, so it's fine now. But we'll think about that a bit more. We can chat about it throughout the stream still if we'd like, and kind of think about how we're going to handle it, or we can just sit on it a bit longer and decide later on in the week or something. But there's also Rose to think about, because a few interesting points about Rose were raised last stream and I really thought it was interesting. Now, at the moment, Rose is a violent character, right? She's a vampire, so of course it makes sense for her to be violent. And Carol bullies her a little bit, right? But we kind of realise that, hang on, Carol, you probably shouldn't bully someone to that extent if they're a dangerous, violent vampire. Even though, you would and you haven't got blood, she could still get angry and smash you into pieces. And we thought we don't want to make Carol's dialogue weaker and not as hostile because it's entertaining and really, really an interesting dynamic for the two characters. So we approached it in a way where we thought maybe we should just make Rose not as violent, at least initially in the story. Again, that means there's a chance for character growth. She starts as this weak vampire who has become a vampire, but she doesn't want to give in to the feral desires. She's resisting it, but then she grows to be a more violent and dangerous and intimidating presence over the course of the game. But she starts off not that person at all. She doesn't do it. She has to get pushed to do it even. I mean, we know that she fights as a vampire in battle and she'll bite enemies and kill them, but that's because she's basically pushed to do it. We thought about potentially having the scene with Fiona Bookington where Fiona says herself, oh, this vampire was like really easy to capture, she wasn't hard to capture at all, just so it puts a bit more emphasis on the fact that this vampire is no threat and not really anyone to be feared, to be scared of. The only thing is, if we was going to do that, if we was going to make Rose less violent at this stage of the story, I can imagine Rose having some violent moments later on now still, but that's in time when she grows into herself. The only thing is, where is it? Where's the flashback scene? Oh, we have to get it open. Let's get it open. There's still the option of having some characteristic about Carol that repels Rose's spell that brought brought her to life, all the type of wood she's made out of, if you don't want to change Rose. I think Rose, like, in all honesty, as a character, me and us all in general haven't really spoken about it enough as we should have. We've kind of neglected her, now I come to think of it, because we've been all like interested in the barrels to such an extent that Rose hasn't been really thought about properly as a character. And I did write her a long time ago when this game was very different. So it doesn't hurt to change her a touch and make her a more interesting character. Because at the end of the day, there's the scene with the fruits where she literally just stands there and does nothing. She's totally willing to be sacrificed, right? And it's like, well, why would you do that? Just eat them all up, Rose. Just eat all those fruits and save yourself all this hassle. But she stands there for like ages while they're all talking about sacrificing her, just like really passively. And it's like, it kind of makes sense that at this point in the game that she's not very strong, because she's being bullied endlessly by both Carol and the Fruits and Fiona Buckington, because she had her in that cage. The only problem is, like I says, the only flaw is with having Rose not be violent is the fact that we have her like be violent towards the hijacker, right? But if we decided that she shouldn't be as violent, we could still do it that way, but just not have her bite the hijacker. But would that work? That's the thing. The thing is, what you say, Zexy, could work, but I don't want to make it too convoluted either and throw in all this lore and reasonings without it flowing well. So it's just how to handle it, really. And that can be explained through something like bloodlust. So do you mean just that she couldn't resist the urge or something? Is that what you mean? She just needs blood. Rose needs blood to survive. That's really the point of what's happening here. She resorted to like consuming the blood of her livestock in the farm because she needed something. The urge for blood was becoming too strong, and she thought, I've got to have these because I can't do it to innocent people, so I'm gonna have to just, consume my animals. And that's why she became feral. So yeah, it makes complete sense that she's going to have urges for blood and not be able to resist, and she'd rather do it to someone who is a bad person than a good person, of course. And was so hungry when she ran into the hijacker that the smell sent her into a frenzy and she couldn't stop herself. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing. I think to have that bloodlust will kind of be a good reason for the violent moment she has, and why she's obviously the fact she's a vampire and fights and bites anything she can in battle. So she's got to keep somewhat violent, because the character and the fact she's a playable party member who fights and bites enemies just wouldn't make sense otherwise if she was that against being violent. So she does have it, but she's also very, very kind of resists as well. And that's the question. Like Carol, I guess Carol would probably think, well, Rose isn't violent, she only has a lust for blood, and I don't have blood, so I'm fine. Suppose that's just an easy explanation. She knows she doesn't have blood because she's a barrel, so that's why she bullies her, because she's like, well, And she's pretty confident Rose isn't going to just stomp on her and break her in rage, because she knows Rose doesn't have that nature. Rose is passive and people-pleasing. If she ever was going to be violent, it would only be because she's hungry for blood, which Carol herself doesn't have, so she thinks, I'm fine. So I'm thinking, is that enough believability to cover that? Because it was definitely something that we raised last stream that was very, a very interesting point. And that Rose could easily just smash her into pieces for being a bully, but if Rose doesn't have that nature, then she wouldn't. Though perhaps that needs to also show up as one of her skills. Like, if we're using Bloodlust as a narrative device, we should probably have a Bloodlust passive that, I don't know, lets her deal extra damage to wounded enemies. Interesting. So, I mean, I'm going to obviously save that when I look through my VOD later, because although we're not working on skills right now, we will be again come the new year. We're going to have probably at least 3 or 4 weeks really talking about the overhaul of the skills of the battle system, because I briefly mentioned that things are going to change regarding battles in Raindrop Chronicles due to the tall sprite update and the fact that we were rid of the chibi and extra assets, because the side view battle sets are small and they're separate assets to these ones here. So all those are going to be gone, and we're going to keep these ones here instead, so that we don't have the extra burden of assets. And they're big enough for the weapons to look good on them still, so that's good. But we're not focusing on that right now, simply because we don't have too many things to focus on at one time. But I'll go into all that more and the overhaul and how it's going to work come the new year. And we're going to have a few streams where we really work on that and make it all flow seamlessly with the quests and scenes we got so far. And that'll be when we obviously look at the skills and make sure they all work and are cool as well. So that'll be definitely one. I'll have to make a note and have it written down so we don't forget about that one when the time comes. And that's a whole other conversation. It's definitely a good thing, I think, to bring in their lore and sort of traits narratively into the skill system. I think that's quite clever. So I think, especially if it just works for the character and makes sense. And is a way to explain why they're that way or why they behave that way. So, another thing I wanted to mention about Rose, actually let's make a note about that before we forget. So Rose is not a violent person by nature, but her hunger for blood will make her unable will send her into a frenzy However, she tries her best to fight this. As a timid, I don't know about timid, as a people pleaser, who longs to be accepted. She tries best to fight. What do you think about that description, folks? Any thoughts? I think the body language that she's going to give off to Carol and the hero as well is going to be very much that people-pleasing body language. There'll be lots of smiles when they compliment her, and there'll be sadder faces when she feels unvalidated, which is kind of the way I've been directing her character during scenes already, to be honest. There's a moment in the dialogue in Main Quest 2, here it is, let's find it, let's get it up so I can show an example here. When Carol says, "Oi fleshbag, listen up, I've seen this cruncher before." You have the option of saying cruncher, don't be so rude, she has a name. So that's if you want to take the option of sticking up for Rose. You can also stick up for yourself or flirt with Carol. But one of the options is to actually stick up for Rose over yourself here. And she likes it. She'll face you and look happy. So this also happens in the fruit scene later on as well. Carol's like, no, we can't let them have the fruits when they ask for her because they'll want her blood. But Carol's only like saying don't let them have her because she needs Rose to do the painting for her. So it comes from a selfish place with Carol, not because she actually doesn't want her to die. And Rose is like really happy when she hears Carol say that, but Carol's like, I didn't mean it like that, and like insults her again, and then she gets sacked. So there's definite moment throughout where there's definitely a people pleasing that is very much obvious, and Carol will sense that from the beginning, especially knowing with the knowledge that Fiona. She was a week for Fiona to catch her, and not fuss at all was easy. She'll know about that, even though she can't show herself in that scene because she can't show herself to Fiona. She'll obviously know about it because Carol makes all business her business. So all these things are going to just be apparent to Carol. She's not bad at reading people, so she'll pretty much see Rose as perfect bullying material. And do you want her to fight her first because she's a people pleaser or because she's a good person? Like, does she not eat people because eating people is bad, or because she expects them to be her friend? I think a more interesting direction with Rose would be the people pleasing thing, just because I always think with good person that it can be a little bit commonplace, sometimes it's people always have an agenda deep down for why they want to be liked, other than, I just want to be the noble hero. So I think I want to avoid the typical good guy route with Rose, I guess, and have it be a little bit more about longing for acceptance and being liked, which is an understandable want. I think a lot of people want to be liked. I think there's a human nature to want that. It doesn't necessarily make you bad that you've got that agenda, but I mean, it could work as both. It doesn't mean she's doesn't want to be a good person, but I think all it comes down to is I'd like it to be more than just I want to be a good person. So to just have the extra things there, the extra things going on with the character. So yes. Hey Rose, hi Ragnarok, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. And I think it's kind of endearing and cute that we see that she wants to please the hero and Carol. And one other thing I want to mention about Rose, okay, this is a big one, guys. You might actually be surprised. I want Rose to be a romance option in the game, but I also want to change her name if we're going to do that. I want to keep it as the name of a flower though, because it all links, and Poppy's name, her doppelganger is Poppy, and she's a flower because Rose is also a flower, so I don't want to like undo all that character development that's been done there because of that. So I'm changing name because I don't want it to be so closely associated to me anymore. I like the idea that she's going to become her own character rather than it be me as a character, because this character is going to take certain, especially romanceable. The reason why Rose wasn't ever romanceable is because I didn't want people to be creepy and be like, I'm romancing the developer. You know what I'm trying to say? There's weirdos out there that would be like, yeah, I'm gonna romance the developer. So I think she's such a potentially good romanceable character. She's with us from the beginning. She can't speak. There's an interesting way to approach that. And it's nice to have that choice right at the start rather than just have Carol as the sole romance option, but bring in that other option as well alongside Carol, and it fits to be Rose. So how about Violet? That was one that someone said, Rex said actually, because I told Rex, I said, I'm thinking of renaming Rose, but I still want it to be a flower and one that actually works and goes with the character. So funny enough, Violet, like I said, Rex said the same name. It kind of works. I don't know, maybe it's because it's an alliteration with violent and vampire, and it sounds similar to violent, so that could work. And hello, how goes things? Hi Zephyrus, how are things going? So yeah, it's a bit of a surprise there, and it's taken me a long time to come to this decision with Rose, because I've been umming and ahhing about it for ages now. I've always thought, Rose would be a really cool romance option, but I always then didn't do it because I was like, but it's a bit weird. I felt like I didn't want her to be me. I want her to be her own character. A bit like how Ashara is for you, Van. Like, they're not called Vandalia, they're called Ashara, because might be a bit weird to attach them to you so significantly, right? And it's fine to do that. I mean, some people have called their characters their names, many people have, but it's not really in my boundaries to be romanceable with my name. And I found a guy that's working on an RPG with RPG Maker. I'm following his game on Steam now. Oh really? Who's that, Zephyrus? Feel free to drop a link in this chat to their stream, because I'm all for finding more like-minded and creators and things. So feel free to, Zephyrus. And other options: Primrose, Irish, Daisy, Heather, Holly, Ivy, Aster and Cassia means cinnamon. Maybe Marigold. I think I like Violent best. I think I do too. And I think if we were going to call her Violet, I'd change her eyes from blue to purple, just for the nice association. But everything else could stay the same with her. So I think we should go for Violet. I don't even think we should do a poll for this. I think we should just go for Violet, because you've said that one, Rex has said that one, and I kind of have been warming to that myself, just because it seems to fit, and I think it's even better than Rose. for a violent vampire. So I'm gonna say this is going to be strange. This is going to be odd for a while, folks, because she's been called Rose for so long, and we might actually still call her Rose for a while, just out of habit. So, you know, if we just call her Rose, that's totally fine. We'll adjust over time. But this is going to be better for Rose's character, because I do feel within the limits that I've got to make her be like me, and you know, and I'm like, she can't be romance because it's creepy to romance the developer. So there's all these restrictions with Rosie's character that's kind of sad. So I can kind of see her as a separate character now, someone who is not so highly associated to myself. You've got a lot of places to change that name. What you mean in the scenes? Well, because I think now's the best time. Like I said, name changes, if they're going to happen, it has to be early on. And because I'm going through all the scenes anyway right now, it's, you know, it would be much more of a job if, like, say we'd got dozens and dozens of scenes over time and it had all been implemented, and that would be a pretty big task. But we're doing that now, so it's just like, you know, not too bad at this stage. Definitely could be worse. And hi Rex, how are things going? Violet the Violent. Yeah, it's perfect. Violet the Violent Vampire. But yeah, so if anyone's just coming in, you're like, who the hell is Violet? I've for the last 10 minutes or so, I've just been explaining that I'm giving Rose a name change for some reasons, which I'll go over in a sec, because we're writing it all down. So Violet Rose is now how are we going to say this? Violet used to be called Rose, just so we know. Rose has been named to Violet. Okay, so she's a romance option. I'm going to add this as well. Carol is a romance option. So that's the key reason for the name change. The fact that I've wanted Rose to be a romanceable character for a long, long time now, but I've never made that jump because I just feel too uncomfortable having my name and, you know, be that. It kind of is a breaking of boundaries and feels weird if people were messaging me being like, I'm gonna romance you, because that would be what happens, and I don't want to risk that. But the other reason is so that she feels like a separate character from me, and her own personality, because she's a people pleaser, right? I'm not a people pleaser, so it's like, this is what I mean. She needs to be her own person and separate from me, because then I'll feel restricted and like she can't be a certain way, because I'm not like that. But I think this is a really cool character, so I don't want to feel like I can't do that just because it's not like me. And Rose wearing Meryl's bra romances Axel, and this is how she earns Carol's respect, by keeping the drum away from Carol's sister. LOL. Zexay, you know that whole idea you had about the bra? I don't know if you were here when I was talking about it that one time. I think that's a brilliant suggestion with players that have Meryl's bra, who have the bra as their lucky charm. If they meet Axel, they can put it on themselves, the hero could, and then you can romance Axel as a character and take him away from Meryl. It's horrible, it's absolutely horrible, but you know, you gotta sometimes have the horrible branches in stories. I'd be heartbroken breaking them up. But there's something really funny about that, but also tragic. So I was like, yeah, oh my god, yes. we're gonna have that, but only if you have the bra. It would not work if you didn't, because Axel and Meryl are so in love and committed that there's no way of splitting them up. That's the only way you can, because that kind of says that Axel fell in love with Meryl because of the bra. But Axel is a shallow man, you know. He goes for looks. And Meryl, when she's braless in the playthrough where you have the bra as the lucky charm, she'll be like, Axel, why aren't you talking to me? Why are you ignoring me? And she'll be there as a bare barrel without the bra, and Axel will just be like, look, we'll just have eyes for us if we have the bra on. But otherwise, if we don't put the bra on, he'll still ignore Meryl if she's not got the bra on. But the option's there for us to put the bra on. Oh, did I say hi? Hi, Matt, how are you doing? And yeah, it would be better for your sanity, exactly. And have you made the list of romanceable characters? Not yet, but I think it's going to be good to start thinking about that, guys. I think, especially now I've established that the vampire, previously Rose, is now a romance option in the game. Okay, so we got to think about preferences as well with these characters. So let's just be clear. Carol and Violet are the only romance options in the game so far. It was only just Carol before today. But there's been a bit of conversation about who should be romanceable potentially. We've said Woody could be a potential romance. Asharu is going to be a romance. And there'll potentially be more as well. And I see it. Let's just think about this now. Let's just get some rough thoughts together. I mean, I don't know, maybe we need to talk about the character more, but we'll go back to that in a bit. I see that there's three types, or two types even, of romances. So the first, actually we'll use numbers for this. The first is a deep, and gradual, deep, gradual and slow burning. Is that the right term? Right, so it can either be, let's get that down so we clarify it, or very shallow flirting and a fling and one night stand, casual flirting and banter, short fling or one night stand. So different characters can be romanced, can either fall under. And the reason why I'm splitting it like this, which I've briefly talked about before I catch up with chat, it's simply so it doesn't get too much, because we can't have every single romanceable character be a gradual, deep story, because it's too much work, too much scene work, and it would be a bit insane for me to write so many long ongoing romances. So a lot of the romances are going to just fall under that one, and that way we can keep the quantity up of romances in the game. But you know, the ones that, you know, are not going to be, you know, a lot can fall under there. So let's catch up with chat first. And I still like the idea that Axel doesn't know what Meryl looks like and only recognises the bra. Yeah, see, there's a lot of there's a lot of things to talk about with Axel and Meryl, and why they love each other, why Meryl loves Axel and why Axel loves Meryl. And I think, you know, now we love that bra idea, that we're going to have to think a little bit more closely with that. And I think it's just very funny and amusing. I loved it as soon as it was suggested. Rose is in this for the romance, and you see, this is exactly what Ragnarok, and I know Ragnarok never meant it like that, but things like this is exactly why I wanted to change my name, just so I can avoid anything said, because otherwise I'm no fool. I know I'd have people coming in my stream very often being like, oh, Rose, I'm romancing Rose, winky face, and things like that. So, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And I would prefer Cryas to be a friendship, but if you decide to make him romanceable, I'll deal with it. Well, that's totally, whatever fits for that character's exing, I'll keep it open for now, and we'll decide a little bit more. We'll set it in stone when Cryas is introduced to the game, and when we've got their character arc down and what we feel is just most suitable. Because I just want to say as well, and I don't know what you had in mind with Cryas Sexy and what their preferences were going to be romantically, but I think we do want a mixture of obviously straight, gay, lesbian and bisexual characters, and so that's something to consider too. And I think one thing what I want to say about Carol as well is that she is romanceable by all genders. Because every character is going to be different. Not every character is going to be able to be romanced by every gender. It all depends on the character and what they're like and what, you know, their preferences. You know, and what fits for them. So the third option is to the romance option is friendship. Friendship exists in Raindrop Chronicles, so yeah, let's get that in. That's a good point. Friendship. And if we're doing that, we'll say friendship / romance feature, because then it kind of is both. We were going along that path with the affinity points, folks. So if you've got high affinity with a character, you will, like, that will be classed as a friendship if there's been no romantic interactions involved in that. It would just remain as a friendship. So I'm glad we've already considered that with the affinity points, and we're going with that route. So it can go the opposite way, where you're not their friend and you're like a sort of enemy or hostile with them as well. So we could even say enemy. Enemy. Affinity. We could even, yeah, affinity I think might be or, you know, it depends. I think friendship and affinity are all fitting. They're all good words. So let's get it in. But is Rome in for I can't even say that word. One night stand. And I have secret scenes in my go-to, so I understand. You got to have romance in an RPG. I think it's just such a. Not only is it really fun, and because RPGs are all about, you know, especially RPGs with all RPGs have characters in, you know, it's nice to take it that step further, your interactions with your characters, and for that relationship to be of a much deeper level potentially. The people find romances irresistible, and it can be the reason why they want to play a game. So, you know, it's just too good to not have. So the third up, yeah, we'll read that bit. So Carol is my girlfriend. Now you're going to be romancing Carol, Ragnar. Yeah, please tell me who you're going to romance. We're going to make a list here, actually. In fact, let's get rid of the bullet point, because I think it's going to make more sense to have it here. So I'm going to say romanceable options so far and romanceable options in the future. Actually, confirmed romanceable options so far. But, you know, literally anyone that doesn't fall into these first two are going to fall into either 3 or 4, basically. So, Carol and Violet. So I'm really happy that we have an extra romance choice this early on, because you've got these in all these interactions here. You as the hero get to interact with both Karen and Rose, and you get to side with some over the other. You get the choice to stick up for Rose, or you get the choice to flirt with Carol. So you're kind of already deciding this early on who you're going to romance. And just so you know, it's all going to be very under the radar. It's not going to be obvious who you're romancing isn't going to be obvious. You're not going to get a meter or anything in the menu. I much prefer, I mean, this is all optional. Games that do this, totally cool. You know, if they want to have that design, that's a cool thing. But I'm more, I admit I'm very, very partial to when the player actually doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes, like in regards to affinity, morals and romance. I like it to be revealed in much more subtle ways, through dialogue, through expressions and visual things, and how it is more in real life, rather than have like a scale in the menu somewhere. And Pathfinder Kingmaker is like that. What, they show a scale or they don't show a scale, just so I'm clear. And let me read, oh my gosh, there's a lot of chat here to read. That way folks don't have to be romanceable. Yeah, so I've been mulling it over and have a few general ideas. I'll try to get you them on Discord by the end of the week. Sure, Zexy, feel free to throw them over. That'll be awesome. And wait, Carol is a barrel. Yes, Carol is a barrel. Well, I'm not into barrels, so I will kindly reject. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's why another reason why I want Violet to be a romance option, because some people aren't into barrels. That's a fact. Not everybody is going to play this game and want to romance Carol. As much as I adore Carol, it'd be silly for me to assume everyone's going to just want to romance Carol. So we've got to have other options too. So that's why I like that we've opened up another character. By the way, there's another one. I'm going to put this on another page so we've got a bit more room and it's a bit tidier. We'll unbold this. So as for the deep, gradual and sly burning love story, there's not going to be tons of those. There's probably going to be a fair amount. Don't get me wrong. I want you to have choice of between quite a few deep and very gradual love stories in the game. I don't want you to feel limited and to feel robbed and conned with this romance system. So there's going to be, a fair amount, but we can't have absolutely dozens, which is why we also have this option, because for anyone that we think, oh damn it, they would have been a really good romance character, but we can't have too many, so they can be number 2. Then you'll still get the option to have that with them at least, and that's easier to create, easier for me in regards to development. It's not as time consuming, so it's not going to make the creation of it as overwhelming. So I'm glad that we've got that number 2 option. And other options should be co-workers. Sometimes there isn't a friendship at all, but a mutual goal. Oh yeah, that in between. So co-worker's a good word for it, actually. Like basically that neutral sort of affinity, I guess that would fall under. I don't know if there's any similar words to co-worker, but that's a good one. I mean, some companions might, because this isn't all just the playable characters, by the way. This could be NPCs as well, and some might not necessarily be a co-worker, but it's a great word for the PCs. Some companions might not like the hero at all, but the goal is the same, And I want the most tomboy character to date within the game. The only tomboy character so far is who's a girl, is Fiona, but she's a 12-year-old, so she's not romanceable, bloody hell. But there's going to be a few over time. Obviously it's a gradual thing. You're not going to meet all the romanceable options in the first episode, but they'll be there in future episodes. So I'll be romancing Nigel so I can inherit his in after the events. Oh my goodness. Do you think Nigel would be a good one night stand one, folks? What do you think? Would Nigel be a good one night stand romance? Because as he's a minor NPC that's not gonna have Nigel's only a key character in episode 1, because we're moving on to other zones and areas in the future episodes, and although there'll be fast travel and you'll be able to go back to Lakefall and whoever is living there at the time, whether it's the reptiles, the humans or the fruits living there, whatever path in the story you ended up getting, you'll be able to visit and catch up with the residents and see how they're getting on. But there's nothing that's plot-wise that will be happening, other areas and that will be in at that time. So there'll be a chance for a potential one night stand option with Nigel. I think with certain NPCs, I think it's that's why I liked having that number 2 option, so we can have that option for certain ones that it's just a bit of a day thing, go back and then that's it, but it's nothing deep. There's not loads of scenes throughout or anything. And let's catch up with chat. So don't show, I prefer it myself, and there's games I love out there that do show scales and morality, like Mass Effect's one. They show the Paragon and the Renegade scale very clearly all the time, but and that's one of my favourite games. But I know I have a real soft spot for games that actually don't show it, because then it keeps you guessing and you're like, oh, I wonder how if I am. You don't get an easy way out, and you don't just find out by looking. You have to work harder to figure out whether this person's a match for you or whether your relationship's improving with them. And it's more like real life then. And yes, let's catch up with chat, because there's so much that I'm behind with. The looters who love their inventory might be really into Carol. LOL, yeah. And not everyone likes barrels, lies and slanderers. Would you romance Carol's ex? Maybe someone Mr. Rady's character who is married might be with a co-worker. Yeah. Exactly. Radu is already in love with Winter, so there's no way he'd be romanceable. So he'd be as you say, he could fall under the co-work relationship personally. And she's 12. Well, I'm going to stay single in this game. You will not stay single. Believe me, even if we don't, even if someone you like doesn't fall under number 1, They, you know, there's a chance you'll like someone who falls under the number 2 category that you can romance. Nigel is too scruffy. I feel like Nigel has to be an option. You know, I feel like he should be the gay option, because we have a lesbian option with Naomi, folks. So, but I don't know whether Naomi's going to be a deep romance. She might fall under number 2 if she doesn't fall under number 1. It all depends. You know, I'm happy for her to be a number 1. You know, totally happy. But we also have to be very selective as well. But the reason I'm saying Naomi is because she's someone we're going to be meeting in Main Quest 3. And Perez, who created Naomi's character, has written her to be into the ladies only. So that's one character for that. So I feel like we need one for the who likes the guys only. And Nigel kind of could work for that. What do you guys think? And trying to get those cheaper prices, it could work. Could work. Yeah, he should be, and he should get overly attached to the plan. The player should be like, dude, I'm not into you. I feel like a romance with Nigel, like having him be, it would be really interesting, like, because he's such a like people pleaser as well, isn't he? He's very polite, overly polite, and he would get attached, wouldn't he? I think so. And maybe romancing Nigel is how you can get the blanket later in the episode if you missed it at the start, if that's still a side quest. Yes, so that's something I need to add to the in scene. Actually, I'm glad you're reminding me, Zexy, because that's very key to the Stumpy side quest of the game. Now, it's not like an emergency that we have to get that in. I don't know why I've got that scene, this scene. It's not like it's an emergency to get that in, because the side quests are something I'm going to be implementing after the main quest. So I can always adjust the scene later for that. But it's true, you'll be able to potentially loot a blanket in the inn in this scene, and only in this scene. And it'll be too late if you didn't get it in this scene. And the reason why you can only get it in this scene is because Nigel's in alone and Fiona's not in here. If Fiona's in here, she'd be like, get your hands off that, because she's far more stricter than her brother. But another way to get it could be, like you say, Zexy, you could romance Nigel if you're a male character. and then you get the blanket that way. Wow, there's all these intricacies, isn't there? You got to be a certain character, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. But that's what makes it interesting, folks. Multiple playability. So yes, but you can't cheat, folks. I'm going to be doing my best, and luckily there's been some limitations that have made a single save slot the way we've got to do this game, which I'm all for, because that means you can't have loads of saves and cheat on different files. But we're still going to have multiple playthroughs, of course, and I'm going to have like this new game plus incentive. But you have to have finished the previous playthrough first, and so that's because I'm all for the multiple playthroughs. I think that's so fun. So let me catch up with chat. So hi, how do you make little characters with names in the Avla? Hi Wonderland, how you doing? These are a tool called Stream Avatars. Let me get the link up. It's on Steam, and there's flexibility with this program. You know, you can choose the graphics that you want as your characters. Of course, these are the characters in Raindrop Chronicles that I'm using for these, but you know, there's plenty of I think lots of different ones online that you can choose from. But yeah, they're pretty cool, aren't they? So unless Mr. Radu wants to have his character cheat, you'd have to ask him, yeah. So that's the thing. This is why anyone who we do decide to be romanceable, I'll have to ask them, what are your character's romancing preferences? As in, what gender are they attracted to, and what personality type are they attracted to? Those are kind of what we're going by with the preferences. And if you don't, if you can't, they're not able to be romanced if they don't, if for example, this is something we're gonna have to think of. So with Carol, by all genders, and we're gonna have to think of personalities as well. I feel like you could only romance Carol if you are, let's get our moral scale up. This is where Carol falls on the moral system, and she's obviously all in the high up. She's good, brave, and somewhat wise. She could be a bit foolish from time to time, that's why she's not too high up on the wise scale. But I feel like you have to be the same as her to some degree. Obviously not exactly the same on the moral scale, but you have to be on the upper end of the moral system for Carol to want to romance you. Otherwise she's not going to be interested. I don't think she'd like you she wouldn't like you as if you were evil. She wouldn't be attracted to you if you was a coward, and she certainly wouldn't be attracted to you if you were foolish. So I'm thinking that. So feel free to give thoughts, guys, on what sort of personality you think Carol would be attracted to. And last time we talked about it, you didn't seem keen on New Game Plus. I'll blog you later to find out what happened to change my mind. Yes, the main reason, Zach, was when I was working on the layered composite hero creator that we're doing now. I don't know if you heard about that, but the custom hero creator is getting a complete rehaul so that we can have layered character hero sprites instead of hundreds of static hero assets. So this way I'm allowed to, the hero's more dynamic now. It was a blooming, let me just tell you, it was not easy to be able to achieve this, because getting a dynamic custom character in RPG Maker is next level. So it wasn't easy. It was a lot of research and a lot of messing about I had to do, but I figured it out. It's making things so much better in regards to, the hero and how he can potentially be more than just a cardboard cutout now. There's more potential with expressions potentially, but you know what I mean. It's just better. But unfortunately though, there was a limitation with it with saving, because the way the hero, the actor number 1 updates dynamically, it only allows you to have one save at a time, because if you started a new game with this custom hero creator, it would overwrite all your saves. It's hard to explain, there's a lot of technical stuff going on with how it works, but it would overwrite all the saves as soon as you have a new hero, because of the way it updates dynamically. So I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a single save now. And at first I was like, damn it, I want multiple playthroughs, this sucks. So I wasn't sure at first, but I had a good think about it, and I thought actually having a single save gives more weight to the choices if the person's forced to have one playthrough at a time. It's a bit like Undertale then, with how they did things, and that really worked well for that game. People couldn't go back on their choices, or like abuse the choices matter systems. And I'll admit I'd get really annoyed if people played the game and abused it and all the choices, and I feel like that's the way to not play the game. So I'm actually all for the single save now. So because we have a single save system, we have to have a New Game Plus, because otherwise the game won't be replayable, right? So I guess the whole point is that we're going to have to incentivize the player to replay as another character and go another route, and they'd be rewarded in some way. Like there could be an item that drops as an incentive to have that second or third playthrough, like a new thing each time. One idea was special artifacts or ornaments that you could collect that are related to the game's lore to some degree, and you can kind of showcase them somewhere. In, I know, the hero could have his own little house somewhere if we wanted to, and there could be a way to showcase all the artifacts you've collected from all your different playthroughs, and it could kind of be a way to encourage people to do multiple characters and plan their different multiple characters so that they play the one that they take into episode 2 last. And they've kind of, the first playthrough is like just a test or something and experimenting, but you know you have to adapt to the engine limitations sometimes, because it was either like abandon the composite layered hero plugin for the sake of multiple saves, but I felt like, what, no, this actually could work, and in a way it makes the game design more interesting, more challenging for sure, but in a way, if it means we get to keep the composite layered hero, then it's all worth it, as long as it doesn't ruin the game, which it hasn't. So maybe if you're foolish, you can still romance Carol by being kind to Oliver. Like, you still have to hit the other 2 points, but you can get a pass at one foolish by bonding with the person most important to Carol. That's true as well. So it depends how complex we want to get here, but it's an interesting thing to consider. So so all genders and good. I'll say good personality so far, but brave and wise could be something else that might be necessary, but at least that might be too much if we had to make you brave and wise as well. But I think at the minimum you should be good to romance. Hi Sort, how you doing? Did I say hi? I can't remember if I did or not. So there we go. Violet, who was Rose before. Now, I don't like what should she be? Now she's not me. I don't have to feel restricted for her to be the same as me. But I'm open to what her preferences could be. We could go anyway, and I think it's definitely up for conversation of what she could be, because it's a mystery at the moment who could romance her, what personalities and what genders. But as for Naomi, also, I'm not going to strictly rigidly decide who's going to fall under number 1 and 2 yet. I know that Carol definitely will fall under number 1, and Violet is likely to fall under number 1 as well, because I think there's an interesting sort of romance arc with a character that can't speak, and how you would romance someone like that and how it would grow. I think it would be a bit weird if a character that was a one night stand. I think it needs to be a deep story with Violet. We'll be calling her Rose accidentally for a long time. Okay, so she would just be and personality we don't know yet until we really flesh her out and decide. Another one is going to be Asharu, and I already spoke to Van, and we feel that Asharu fits with an all genders romanceable option based on what they're like as a character. It works. And also as for the personality, it's going to be very hard to get very hard to get, so I'll wait for Van to give me some feedback on that one about the personality we'd have to go with for Ashari. And as for anyone else, it's a question mark if they're romanceable. We said Nigel, so we'll have Nigel here. I mean, we've got him under confirmed here, so maybe we better to have potential romance options. Because I like the idea. I definitely am very keen on having Nigel as a romance option, especially because he's an option for, the male only gender, if we've already got a female at gender only. Because it's nice to, have a variety of choice there for people. I don't want gay people to be like, oh no, there's no romance option for us, because that would suck. You gotta give all the choice. So since we've not set up his scale yet, it's hard to exactly say. And I say that, but we've still got Ashara and Carol who are for all genders, so there's still choice there, but it's nice to have that for one gender only option as well. Hard to exactly say. Yeah, so we won't fill that out just yet. I feel like Carol's the only one we could really say it about so far, because we've done her scale. So yeah, we discussed today that people were very keen on chat with Nigel, and I think it's very, very, I think it could definitely work as a number 2 option anyway for that one. I feel like any NPC that you meet who lives in a town or city would always fall under number 2, because you move on, you're an adventurer and you travel the world, so you can only really have the deep, gradual and slow burning love story with a playable character or an NPC that's literally with you, travelling alongside you very often, like Carol the Barrel, for example, or one of the other Barrel characters. But we don't potentially meet the other Barrel characters till mid-game. It's likely going to be more mid-game when we finally find the others in the present day. But that doesn't mean they can't fall under number 1, though, because there could be a lot happening from then that turns into a proper love story. But Woody, out of the barrels, it's only going to be Woody that's romanceable potentially, because I'm going to put Woody down actually. Because Meryl isn't, because she's in love with Axel. Axel is, though. I say, we've decided Axel probably is, so we'll get him down. Let's say only if you have the pink bra Lucky Charm. Genders, probably all, because I feel like any especially of the object characters, they would generally be an all gender romance, even more so. Woody, not necessarily, I say that, but not necessarily. It's up for discussion, And as for Woody, he's definitely all gender because, well, he loves the ladies, but Chub Cheeks wants to romance Woody as well. So we can't make him only with the lady characters. Yeah, the pink bra, Lucky Charm. Poor Meryl. I'm already like, my heart's already breaking for her. Okay, so if Christ is an option, he's gay, but also very hard to get because he's so stuck in melancholy and living in the past. Okay, so we'll put him down as a potential one, just in case you get very dead set on it, Zexy. I know you said that you were happy for him to be a friendship only, but if you decide that, you know, you want him to fall under the number 1 or 2, then feel free to let us know. Okay. So I think we're very early days with this. I mean, there's so many characters we're going to meet along the way, but it's already coming together nicely, and we've got a mix of some that are only attracted to one gender and some that are attracted to all genders. So yes, and the question mark one is Violet right now, because I'm not actually sure with her what her preferences would be at this point in time. So should I put hard to get? I feel like I should put hard to get for both Christ and Ashari. How else would we say that? So all genders hard to get. Carol's hard to get as well. So easy to get. Woody's no challenge. He's obsessed with finding. Nigel would be easy to get as well. Like we said, what did Rex say about Nigel? He shouldn't be overly attached to the plan. The player should be like, dude, I'm not that into you. Maybe extremely hard to get for Ashari. LOL. I love that we've got a scale. Okay. This is so funny. I love it. Okay, so Violet is a people pleaser, so she'd be more easy to get, I think. And I think it's a good compliment to Carol then. It's like we've got the hard to get one with Carol and we've got the easy to get one with Violet. But I don't think she should be overly easy to get. You know, she's still, you gotta handle her carefully as a character that, you know, doesn't speak. Like, how would you romance a character like that? That's something to consider, because you can't exactly well, you're not getting any response from them very easily, not with words anyway. You can with expressions, and you can still talk to them, but it's an interesting, very unique romance. The hero has to put in the real work for Ashari, yeah. If you push Fiona in the lake, Violet immediately falls in love with you. Yeah, I feel like she should definitely be the easy to get option, because in the first half of the game, it's only Carol and Violet that are available to you, right? No, Nigel's available to you. What am I talking about? He needs to go up to here. Oh, we says he isn't confirmed, but to be honest, I think he should be confirmed. So, there we go. In main quest 1 and 2. In main quest 3 plus. We'll say episode 1 just to clarify it's episode 1. Because we're going to meet Naomi in main quest 3. She's a recruitable diplomat, but we can also go another route where we recruit a herbalist instead of a diplomat, but that would mean you wouldn't meet Naomi. But there's another option. Naomi could still be in Lakefall, even if you don't recruit her, she's still there as an NPC, and you can still have a fling with her. She's just not in your party. We could approach it that way. She'd just not be in your party is all. That way you don't potentially miss out if you want to, if you're a female character that wants to romance another female character. Maybe it's like the girl in Animal Crossing, the Sable sister. You need to keep talking to her. Oh, thanks for the mention of that, Ragnarok, because I always like to have a bit of inspiration to look at. So I'm going to look at that, because I have played Animal Crossing, but I don't know the Sable sister. Which Animal Crossing was it? I've only played New Horizons. Nigel is confirmed a vampire. Did I say that? If I said it was an accident. LOL. Maybe have a variable that tracks how often you're nice. Defend Violet. As long as that variable is at a certain number, you can romance. Yeah. And I think that would work in general with all the romanceable characters, right? But if we wanted to do it that way, we could. But how have we started doing it so far? Because we also gotta remember we haven't put in any romanceable options yet for us, but we can start adding them. Like here, for example, got so many scenes. I'm like, where are we? This part here where we defend Rose and say, don't be so rude, she has a name, when Carol bullies her. At the moment, we're just gaining an affinity point. This is going to have to be renamed to Violet, by the way. So, luckily, we haven't got her in too many scenes. It's mainly Carol that's in all the scenes, so it's not going to be too much of a name change. I mean, is there a find and replace feature on Dual.io? Because I can do the find and replace feature if there is. But we can add the +1 romance point here like we did for Carol with this. So yeah, if you talk to the sister sewing every day at first, she says she's busy, but then after a few days she opens up. Oh, okay, I'll have to look. But yes, yeah, so she easy to get, but yeah, we'll keep it as easy to get. There's still, like we say, it's not exactly easy, but it's in comparison to people like Carol and Asharu, it's she's definitely much easier to get. Okay. So, is there any characters that we've missed off this list that we know is going to definitely be a romance in the game? I think, from what I'm aware of, I've done all the ones that we know. But I'm glad we've done this list, because although we've talked about the romance system we've known from the beginning that we're going to have a romance system, but we've talked about it a lot, but we've never really listed anything or got properly organised with who's going to be romanceable. So I'm probably going to make an individual document for this, because it's currently sharing the same document as this one. And over time we can add more characters to the list as we develop them and think about them. And it's all very fun. And we only started talking about this because I announced that Violet's is a new romanceable option, and she wasn't. Originally I was kind of like, nah, I'm not going to make my character romanceable because that's a bit weird when I'm the developer, and I was very like dead set on those boundaries. But a part of me really felt she's a really good romance option for the sake of the game, to give that extra choice and not only have Carol only. And I felt for the sake of the game she should be, and that meant that I felt the right thing to do was to have a name change, so that she's not me. So I like that at the moment, in the first 2 quests, we'll have a non-human character, a female character, and a male character. But the male character's for male gender only. And it's not like they're going to be the only ones in episode 1, because Naomi's coming and Ashara. Ashara isn't going to be a joinable party member in episode 1. He's not going to join you as a PC, but he's going to be someone who is in episode 1 as an NPC. In a similar way to how Naomi would be just an NPC if you didn't recruit the diplomat. And hi, what is it you're figuring out for the game? Now, hi Drew, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. We're writing down the characters that are going to be ideal for the affinity, friendship and romance systems, particularly the romance. We're making a list of the characters we feel are going to be romanceable in the game, and we're trying to make it, have a lot of choice, and it's all, everybody's got their preferences with how easy they are to romance, what sort of personality they want to romance, and what genders they want to romance. So all very interesting, and I'm glad, because before today it was only Carol that was romanceable, and like Ragnarok said, you don't want to romance a barrel, do you, Ragnarok? But some people do. Believe it or not, some people would love to romance a barrel. Can't imagine trying to plan an RPG, lots to cover. Yeah, that's why it's very smart to do it in segments. So we're doing it in segments, have been from the start, with the fact it's episodic, so that helps somewhat. But even episode 1 is a segment, because it's just main quest 1 and 2 that we're looking at the moment, rather than episode 1 as a whole. And I'm not even going to focus on main quest 3 onwards in episode 1 until main quest 1 and 2 are 100% done and smooth and bug free, because this build that you see up there in the corner, build version 0.1, early pre-alpha, that is going to be the very first demo build of the game that's ever come out. And when it does, it's only going to have main quest 1 and 2 in it, and I'm going to be very reluctant to move on to the main quest 3 and 4 and onwards content until episode 1 main quest 1 and 2 content is like very much tidied up, because I like to do it like that, because otherwise, if I did it all at once and we were working on main quest 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6 all in one go, and released it all as one massive like beta game, when all like that, then it would be so buggy and overwhelming. So it's nice to like do it in little, like a step at a time, and it's going to be like just a lot less overwhelming that way. So you're a pro, gonna do it all. Yeah, I guess it all depends. I definitely don't recommend the average person, who has just an average interest in RPGs and game making, to pursue a project like this. But I'm like a bit of a I'm a bit of an anomaly, and I can't say that word because I'm silly. Anomaly, can't say it. I'm strange. I'm very overly obsessed and passionate about RPGs and characters, and it's like all I want to do. I choose to do this over actually playing games. Bloody mad, that's what you are. I am, aren't I, by? Yeah, for sure. Obsession is a handy thing if you direct it into getting stuff done, yeah. And it's like, you know, what else would I do? That's the question. If I wasn't going to do this, what else would I do, right? And then I think, well, whatever else I'm doing definitely isn't as fun or as awesome as this. I'm hungry. Oh my god, how is it that time? Damn it. I was having fun doing this. Haha, agreed. For sure. And I think the only real issue with pursuing a project like this is the fact that you're kind of sacrificing, you can't really get another job alongside it to pay the bills. You know, because, well, you can totally do that, but all the time you're putting into this will be divided with another commitment. So it's the sacrifice of, oh, well, you know, I need money, so this has to I can't do this anymore. And I guess you just have to ask yourself, well, what's more important, that I can earn money and not follow my passion, or follow my passion and be skint? You know, that's kind of another thing you have to ask yourself. It's tough to choose when to split your time up and how much. I found out a lot of benefit from working on the short-term side projects, but it's not easy to keep up. Yeah, and it depends what your life is like as well. If you've got a family and you've got children and you've got another job, and you've got bills to pay, you're kind of in a position where you can't do it. But I don't have that. You know, I don't have all those extra things going on in my life, so I'm very lucky in regards to that. But yes, it's sacrifices, because it means that there's aspects of your life that are missing, but it all depends what's important to you and what makes you happy. That's what I think. And it can be hard because society can force you to follow the norms and be like, you gotta do this, that's what humans are meant to do, that's what people do, gotta have a baby. But you know, you don't have to. And I've got some of that, but I'm still lucky to be able to work on the stuff I love. Very fortunate. That's great, because people can do it. There's plenty of people I know that have like very busy lives and they're able to still follow their passion projects, and that's wonderful. Yeah, for sure. And it shouldn't stop people either, even if they've got other commitments. I think that's what I think. Try your best to keep doing it no matter what. Alright guys, so I'd like us to drop the love to someone else who's online before I head off. I'd love to stream longer because I'm having a ton of fun, but it is time for my dinner, and I'm going to put a trivia in chat soon, guys, so just so you know, anyone who's interested in the Raindrop Chronicles trivia, who's lurking away, it's going to be going in chat soon. But we've got a very good early skeleton list for the romance system here, and we've made clear what they fall under, the affinities. We got 2 that are romance based, one's deep, one's casual. We got friendship, we got neutral relationship, which is that one, and we got enemy. So we got the list of these, and these are like just starting ones. It's all going to be developed over time and step at a time. Like I say, that's hugely important when doing a project like this. You got to do it a step at a time. Lovely to see you today. Have a nice week. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. And when I had a regular full-time job, I chose to get up at 5 a.m. every day to work on what actually wanted to do. It worked. Yeah, I did the same, Drew. I used to work full-time a few years ago. And I was actually there was a side project I was working on at the time that I couldn't do as much because of my job, so I literally just spent every hour that was free doing it when I wasn't at work, and I didn't have a life or any leisure doing anything else because I was limited. I only had 3 hours in the day when I got back at 6 o'clock in the evening after I had my dinner and stuff, before I had to get ready for bed to do it. So it was like a massive, I made the most of it as much as possible. So yes. Thank you for the mainstream. You're welcome, Rex. I'm putting trivia in chat, folks. And I'm a stay-at-home dad. It's the best. Not as stellar at it, but managed to do okay. Yeah, and that's great. And I'm glad that despite having a family and that you to provide for and to spend time with, that you can still follow what you love, because if I had those things, it would definitely be a somewhat of a burden on this project. There's no way it couldn't be. But I always think there's a way to make it work, and people prioritise what means the most to them. And even if there's a few things you have to prioritise, you just got to learn how to juggle your time. Time's limited for us all, and everyone feels like life's a big rush to get things done, but we've got many decades on this planet, right? So it's a bit I make jokes all the time saying I'm going to be an old lady when this project finishes, but it wouldn't even surprise me if I was an old lady when this project finished, because this is a huge epic, and over time, as more time goes on, the more I want to carefully craft each episode. I don't want each episode to be this rush job that's bad quality. I want it to be really well thought out. And I'm exaggerating when I say old lady, but what I'm trying to say, my point is that it doesn't have to be a race. It's not like you think you've got to get this done before this so and so year and that. Just be happy with your product and enjoy it, and don't feel pressure. You're not under pressure with a publisher. You don't. Well, I'm not. I don't have a publisher, and I have to think this has to be out next year, so I've got to hurry up because the publisher want it released. I'm independent, so I have that freedom, and it's nice. See you next stream. Van got the trivia points. Vandalia, well done, Van, Lawmaster. And get better with practice. Yeah, you'll do it. 31 in a few days, and I feel like my life is halfway over. I'm the same age as you, Ragnarok, so I wish I started this when I was much younger, and I wish I had the confidence to have done it when I was in my early 20s. But I'm not going to moan either, because I'm doing it now, and that's what matters. I feel like age shouldn't limit anyone. When people are like, I'm 40 or I'm 50, so I can't do this, that's a misbelief. You actually can, because there's loads of people that start new hobbies and careers when they're in their 50s and older. So, and I appreciate carefully crafted work. Yeah, time is unlimited for release, and I feel you, but don't worry, it's not. It is when you're 40, you joke. Yep. It's a good thing to be independent and only have yourself to really care for. I'm happy to be the exact same way. Yeah, and I think that's important. So important to not lose that as well, and that the people in your life are understanding as well. Because I would not like it if I had a partner who was like, you gotta stop doing this, we gotta do this instead. That wouldn't work out. Because People have to respect your passions, and I feel that, and I agree about being happy you do it now. Yeah, for sure. And I'm still young, like, you know, I don't think 30's old at all. Many years ahead of me. So once you start giving up time bits of yourself, making too many compromises, those dreams become very faded. Yeah. Before people know it, they're 60 or 70, and they look back on their life and they're like, what have I done with myself, you know? And I don't want to be one of those people. I want to look back and be like, I made this RPG series, which at the time felt like a crazy task that would take many years, but you know, you get there in the end. Okay then, so let's raid somebody. Let's see who's on. And I'm streaming again on Wednesday, everybody. And we're going to carry on with more scene work. We're going to get the fruit scene finally in, and we're going to look over the fruits as well, make sure that scene works well. And now we've discussed Carol and Rose a bit more closely and their personalities, we can make sure their dialogue in that scene is consistent as well. And we still have to think over the whole Carol at the start of the game thing, but I think it's something that's not going to take too much time to think of at all. Once we've decided how it's going to go, it's just a quick one-line change. Okay, so looking at who is on today. A friend, Milky Cold, is playing Final Fantasy 15. He has good taste in games. Plays Final Fantasy and Dark Souls, so we'll go to him. He's always been very generous and raided us in the past. So, I'll see you all on Wednesday, everyone. Thanks for the awesome, character discussion. It's always very cool to talk about them, and interesting development with Rose as well. And we've got some things more set in stone now. And the romance is all very fun, and I'll see you all on Wednesday. Take care, everybody. You're all the best. Look like I had a moustache? Yeah, I do that on purpose sometimes. Take care, everybody.